So I have a lot of things with sound, but it's going to work better if I have it. And I am sorry for the buzz. Nope, they don't have any sound. Oh, I know why. Okay, so a little bit of a movie demo for a movie demo. So what this course is about, for those of you who are hopefully knowing that you're in the no biz like showbiz, is for those of you who get to do all this wonderful stuff. You make all these great apps or great APIs or whatever it may be, and then you got to tell somebody else about it. And one of the really nice ways to tell other people about it is video, okay? And I'm involved with this a lot. My name is Steve Lipton, and I work in two different hats. One hat is as a medical device manufacturer. I am the CIO of them. And one of my many jobs is trying to keep everybody trained on all of the different systems that we have. And with the revolving door of customer service people, that can be a challenge. So I, a long time ago, started working with video. And then there's this other company called LinkedIn that and used to be called lynda.com, who said, hey, how would you like to make some iOS videos for us? And I'm on video 16 for them right now. 17 comes out. The 16 comes out this month. 17 comes out the month after that. And I also do a weekly series for them. What I want to talk about is something a little more down to earth than just training videos, which I did on Sunday. And I'll talk about one of my things. Someone mentioned it in one of the other sessions earlier. Have you ever had that app that you just start and you never completely finish? This is mine, okay? It's been in development now for 2 years. And it got to beta. I actually got it to beta, and then I found a whole bunch of bugs that it's now back out of beta. But it's My Fitness Trails. And the whole idea of it was that I live in Chicago. I love to run, but Chicago weather is just not made for running. So I have a treadmill at home, and they don't call them treadmills for nothing. Instead, they get very boring. So what I came up with was an app that let me run anywhere I wanted, and I trace a path on a map, and then you can run that map. So that's My Fitness Trails. So let's just use My Fitness Trails as an example, because you can do lots of things here. There's two hands that I want to play with here. One is getting this in the App Store. You can put those demo videos in. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. On the other hand, it's the instructional videos, which are also great for marketing of your product, okay? And I'm going to spend more time on the marketing side. I'll talk in different places about that App Store video, but I'm going to try to focus more on the second case. So let's say I do this, okay? This is what most people do when they do these. So I will give you an example video here.
Hey folks, I just want to show you how to set up My Fitness Trails as an app. Actually, that's not what I'm doing. I'm going to show you how to use My Fitness Trails to get started as well. I'll click the button here for My Fitness Trail, and you'll see there's all kinds of stuff on the screen. On the left is where your trails are. Go through those if you want to. Above that is a button for making new trails, and then right in the back is a button to create what kind of exactly what kind of workout you do. So I'm setting this as workout for bike, and I just hit the start the right the screen, I hit start, and then start the workout, and oops, I forgot to set up the internet, which is a real problem, but if it works, then what I would be doing is stopping it, clicking the button, stop, and it's done. So that's how to do it, and I hope that helps you set up your My Fitness Trail.
Okay, show of hands. Who thinks that is freaking awful? You should all be raising your hand. That is disgusting. And it's actually what you see a lot. You go on YouTube all the time, you'll see stuff like that. People decide that this is the best recording device they have available. And that's a big no-no, okay? We'll talk more about that. But I'm gonna go through 4 stages of putting together a good video and what things you should be looking at in terms of that. And you make them into 4 Ps: pre-production, production, post-production, and publishing. Now, along those lines, we'll start with the pre-production. And your key element here is you're building a story. Whatever you're doing, for whatever reason, you're building a story. So you want to make sure that you have a good story. So first thing you're going to do is come up with a tagline. It's an easy, simple way of putting together what your story is about. And whenever you talk to someone else, you can say this. Here's a couple of common ones that you may know. Anyone know what Wagon Train to the Stars eventually became? Star Trek. Jaws in Space. Alien. Hidden Fortress in Space. Star Wars. John's not in the room, but Buck Rogers meets Guardians of the Galaxy. Space Rogues. Or one of the many versions I've heard of it, because I've heard many different ones. Run outdoor trails on a treadmill. That's what we're going to be talking about with mine, okay? Now, another thing you can do is go to the instructional design part of this. And for that, you would actually create an objective. And I would create, one of my backgrounds is in education. And so one of the things I do is I always write a full educational objective. They always start the same. It's at the end of this video, the learner will be able to. And then you put some measurable or observable action. Here's a whole bunch of them, listed in ranking of how much brain power you're going to use. Okay, so on the bottom is knowledge, define, identify, tell, and at the top, judge, value, critique, design, make, write. And the higher ones are more valuable, but they also, like I said, they're more brain power, so it takes longer to get them in. So, for example, we could have an objective for this speech. The learner will be able to make a 5-minute video instructing a user in the use of their app. By the end of this video, the user will be able to run a trail in My Fitness Trails, would be the one for My Fitness Trails. If I go next step, I have an objective, it's my target. The tagline and the objective is my target of what I want to hit. I can keep those in mind as I'm trying to write a script. And one of the things you saw in the bad video is because I was doing things off the cuff, I wasn't ready for anything. Okay? So if I have a script, I'm much more ready for things. I may go off script, but I have the script. Okay? So the classic way of writing a script is the hero's journey. Anyone ever heard of the hero's journey before? Okay? The classic modern version of the hero's journey is Star Wars: A New Hope, which is very simple. It starts with a humble beginning. Someone living on a farm somewhere, some crisis causes a journey. Along the way, they meet strange people. One of them is going to be a mentor. They come into combat against some big beast, very often twice. First time may be more of a failure than the second time. And finally, they become a better person because of the victor. Now, here's the important thing. In this scenario, you are not Luke Skywalker. Your user or viewer is. You're Obi-Wan. Okay? You're going to be showing them how to do something. how to make them the hero, how to make them the better person. So you're taking that role in this, okay? So you're going to be applying concepts, showing the thing working or one, as the case may be. So when we put together a script, we're going to put it together into 3 major parts, okay? An intro, why to do this. A narrative, how to do this. That's your journey. And then the reward at the end. What is the reward? And very often, now that they're popular, I'll throw this in here, which wasn't the case when Star Wars came out, but if you look at Marvel movies, there's the after credits, okay? And very often the after credits, well, there's 2 different varieties of after credits. The one that's the more important one is it then leads you into what else can you do with this? And particularly with us and techniques that we may be giving with our things, how can this become something better for that person? You know, so those kinds of things might be in that script. Keep it short. This is one of the things I see. This is not what I did there because most videos would take my whole class time. Is you see 40-minute videos trying to explain something. You want 2 minutes of that 40-minute video that you have to sit and fall asleep and then have to go back because you fell asleep through the middle of whatever you were looking for there. So keep it concise when you're doing videos. Even for marketing purposes, you want to keep them as concise as possible. People's attention spans are very short. Maximum length for any kind of video that I think people should be doing is about 5 minutes. It's a sweet spot for videos. I sometimes go over that, particularly when I'm coding, but try to keep it as close to that as possible. Best length is probably under 2 minutes for marketing and short instructional videos like what we're talking about today. And break it up if you need more. Because there's nothing bad about a series. That means you get, 2 clicks and more than that in your cases, okay? So, 2 script styles I want to talk about. One is just writing it out as text. This is the way I usually do it. Is I have a product, a Scrivener that I use. There's other ones out there. You can do this in pages. And just sit there and type out your text of what you're going to do. So I did this pretty much straightforward. The top part, 2 sentences, is my introduction. On the bottom, my conclusion is very simple. Go hit the trails and enjoy your workout. Okay. And then in between is the steps of how to work this particular app. Okay. Now, there's another way of doing this called the documentary style for scripts. I don't do documentary style very often. This is one of those places where the App Store video, which you have no sound anyway, because they don't want any sound in it, according to Apple's submission guidelines. What you're going to do is you're going to take a whole bunch of scenes and put them together into a story. And since they're so hard to take, and because so many of them are going to be on multiple devices, you're never going to get one take that looks identical. So you'll probably do multiple takes, and you'll need to have your story plotted out exactly how long of each part you need. Okay? So for those situations, you may want to use the documentary style. Documentary styles is named after documentaries, of course, because the way a documentary is put together is someone gets a lot of different clips of things and then shoves them all together to make a story, which is the exact opposite of what we're going to be doing when we have a full story and we're going to record the whole full story all at once. Okay? As you're doing this, block out the steps. Do the steps as you're copying the copy of the app. So say, I'm going to do this step, I'm going to do this step, I'm going to do this step, and then make sure it works that time. You're going to probably rehearse it as well. Okay? As you're doing the rehearsal, do it again. Start with a blank slate, go through every step you'll do in the recording, and then time yourself. As you're doing it, make sure you hit the 5 minutes or the 2 minutes or whatever it's supposed to be. All right, so now you've got a script. You know this is going to work. Now you're going to production. There's 3 different ways of doing production. You can do live action, You can do screenshots. You can do slide decks, like Keynote or PowerPoint. Some of these require more stuff than others. It's why I tend not to do live action, is because there's a lot of stuff for live action. It can get kind of expensive. That's the one that takes all the time. So we're going to stick with just these two. And I'm really going to focus really in on screen. Slide deck you can add into screen as you go. Now, one of the things we just talked about, or you just heard, is bad sound. Now, unfortunately, we've got a little bit of feedback here. We've got a little bit of static, so this is not going to sound as good as I would like. But I'm going to show you the differences in microphones here. So I'm going to plug this back in. And this is what my AirPods sound like for the introduction.
When you can't run outside, make running fun inside.
Okay, that's pretty bad. That's something you shouldn't use. Here's one that I would frown on using, is using the internal mic on a Mac.
When you can't run outside, make running fun inside.
But you can tell already there's a huge difference in terms of the quality, okay? Then I actually go to a more professional mic. This one's I got this off of Amazon for 30 bucks, okay? It's a single directional mic so that it gets only this sound, which is something that'll be important as I talk about in a couple minutes.
When you can't run outside, make running fun inside.
That's me. Yes. Amazing what a good mic will do, isn't it? We'll pull that down a little bit. All right. Now, you got a halfway decent mic here. That's not your only problem. The other side of the problem, which you may not hear so well in this room because I've only got the one speaker, but if you look at the slide deck stuff that I have the link to, I have all these audio samples there, and if you listen to that, you will hear the echo. There's something called Reverb. You don't want to be recording this in the kitchen, okay? So,
when you can't run outside, make running fun inside.
You might hear there a little bit of an echo. Now I'm going to take that same microphone, and you can see this is my studio, and you can see I have the sound stuff up, okay? I've got sound reflective material, sound absorbing material, excuse me, up so that I'm not having any sound bounce back around.
When you can't run outside, make running fun inside.
Okay? It sounds different. It's starting to sound very, going back to what you said, it really sounds professional when you put some sound stuff in there. I'll be honest, that cost me $100 to put up. A couple of pillows work great, Some people do this in their closet and with all the clothes around. So if you can do this in a walk-in closet facing the clothes, and that'll dampen sound as well, if you're at home. And you can keep going. This one may be a little hard, and again, in this room, it's not going to be as good, but
when you can't run outside, make running fun inside.
I'm going to pull that up a little. Do that again.
When you can't run outside, make running fun inside.
All right, one more. Now, this is my $200 headset, which I actually like headsets because headsets do a great job because you put the microphone 4 fingers away from your mouth, right about here. I have one here. I have my Microsoft one. But this is my $200 one that goes into an amp and the whole bit, the big expensive one.
When you can't run outside, make running fun inside.
So you can hear that they're getting so much better, okay? So the point is microphones are critical to make a good video. And most people don't think that out very carefully. So one thing to do is think about your microphones. All right, screen capture software. What can you use? I'm not a big fan of iOS screen capture. The latest versions, I'm starting to see some things disappear that were problematic. But that's not the greatest thing. We're actually going to use the cheap version. For device recording, I almost always go straight to QuickTime. So the cheapest option is actually one of the better options here. There's a couple others. For actually recording your Mac screen, I'd go with ScreenFlick. The other options there are very expensive and have other features along with it. But I actually don't find them that great for device recording. I tend to use QuickTime. We're going to use QuickTime today. All right, so you're now going to set the stage. we've got our equipment. So there it is. Our workflow, I have a microphone, I have a demo system, I have some kind of teleprompter. Usually it's this guy right here. There's my script. Okay. What's nice about doing it on a tablet is you don't hear pages turning while you're doing it. Okay. So I like putting it, you can put it on any tablet. I know a couple people who use their Kindles for this. But that's one thing you'll have, okay? Famous scene from Game of Thrones, the Starbucks cup. Ruins a scene, okay? Here's so you could ruin it even more. Yeah. Yeah, just great product placement. But yeah, and then you could have like a recording button or something, or your 80% power or stuff like that. It's distracting from everything else. And that's what this is a problem with, okay? You're too busy reading all of what I do and I like Pokemon Go and all this other stuff to actually be paying attention to anything else. So a distracting screen is a real problem. You want to put it so that everyone is focused on as much about what you're talking about as possible. If you can, just avoid a home screen at all and start in app with it fully loaded. That would be a bigger way of handling the problem, okay? So get ahead, remove all those distractions, change to a solid background, remove all icons from status bar, dock, and desktop if you're doing it on a Mac. Full screen of app if possible, which for devices is going to be the case anywhere. As much as you can, set your stage by presetting data. Particularly with file saving and things like that, already have the folder ready to go. So when you hit save, it's going to go to the folder you're going to use. Adjustable fonts, make them big. 18 point, 22 point for stuff. And then launch your software. Some of the recording settings you may be dealing with. For devices, it's going to probably go to the native for the device. For the App Store stuff, you have to go to that native resolution anyway. What you'll end up doing is putting your finished video into one of these when you get into the editing phase of stuff. Okay. Okay, then you're going to record. I try to aim for one take. Okay, so you try to get it in one take when you're doing something from a script. That way you have the least amount of time you need to edit. If you do a bunch of them, you're going to have more editing time because you're going to have to put more clips together. Okay. But you're going to make mistakes while you're doing that. So there's two big ways of handling, or three really, three ways of handling mistakes. First one is if it's something you just back up on, say redo or rephrase in the microphone, pause, and then say it again correctly. Another option is a pickup. A pickup is a small segment of your script that you're going to reenact and then slot into the space where you made the mistake. And finally, there's a retake, which is redoing the entire video. Now, I tend to try to avoid pickups because you have to restage them. And some of them are very difficult to restage. So for many times, if you're keeping it relatively short, it's just as easy to start from scratch, do the whole thing for 2 minutes or 5 minutes, and then use that instead. Or mix your two tapes, or mix the two that you've got. All right, so let's do a demo here. And I'm going to pull this up.
Siri not available.
Quiet. All right, so let me escape out of here. And, oh yeah, it's doing that. Okay, so let me go down here. I'm going to pick up the Quicktime player to use for this. And I'm going to cancel here when I start loading it. I'm going to go to File, New Movie Recording. And you get a little box, which then expands to a big box. Now, I've already got this set to the correct device. Very often when you start, you'll get a FaceTime camera like this. And what you're going to do is turn it to the correct device, which if you've already plugged in your device, will be there. Then you'll select a microphone. And you can see I've got lots of different microphones here. I am now going to plug in a headset, okay, which was what was causing the video not to play before. Okay. So I have my headset here. And now I'm ready to record. And I'll get my script ready. And unfortunately, because of this, this really should be turned off. Another thing you might want to turn off is, of course, notifications. So put yourself into Do Not Disturb before you do this. I'll go ahead and start this and start my recording. When you can't run outside, make running fun inside. MyFitnessTrails is your answer to keeping treadmills from being boring. Start the app by selecting the icon on your device. You'll be at the start screen. On the left is a trail selection list. Above it is the Add Trail button. To the right is the workout selection. To select a trail, just tap it on the trail list. Then tap your workout and hit Start Your Run. You'll be taken to the workout view. Tap Start and your workout begins. To stop a workout, press Stop. Then Done. Go hit the trails and enjoy your workout. And that would be recording of a short video. Now, I just did something I have never done in my life before, and that is not make a mistake. I was supposed to put a rephrase in there. I did not get a rephrase in there. So, no, I've never done that before. The one time I want to make a mistake, and I don't do it. Okay. Whatever. So now you have this file, okay? And you can go ahead and run it, check it, see if it looks good. Would you want to save it? So I'm going to File, Save. And now I'm going to title it, okay? Because you're going to be titling a lot of these things, and you probably are going to need to be doing more than one because you're going to get a pickup. You may get more takes. You want to do this in a specific way. Now, this is harder to read. I'm going to go back to the slide in a minute so you can see this a bit better. But I'm just going to call this My Fitness Trail 0101 Take 1. And then hit Save. Okay, and that goes in and saves it. All right. And I'm done with the Quicktime for now. I'm going to go back in here and go back to play. Okay. Now, here's a bunch of my friends. Usually. Sometimes I want to choke them, but usually they're my friends. These are all my producers from LinkedIn Learning, who have been on many of the projects that I have done. One of the important things that I want to point out with these guys is they're the ones who call me on my crap. Because I will make mistakes, I will do stupid things, and they'll say, hey, Steve, you forgot to do this. And then we do another take. Hey, Steve, you forgot this. Or, oh, yeah, there's this problem. Most of us don't have producers. So what we have to do is do what the old style dailies. So what I suggest people do is you record it, you let it sit for a day. Tomorrow, take a look at the video. And you say, this is awful, or, oh, I made this mistake, this mistake, this mistake. You either re-record or you record some pickups. Okay, so you catch errors. Okay, They're called dailies because that's how movies work, is they will shoot a whole day's worth of work. The next day, first thing in the morning, they'll watch the dailies, which is the footage they shot the day before. If they need to do resets for those pieces, that's the first takes of the day. Okay, so here's how they go ahead and save and name these things, or at least my way of doing it. There's a million different ways of doing this, but it's one of the better ones. Is you put a project name. Depending on how you set up these videos, you might have a video and chapter designation. The video title giving you some idea what that number means, and then a take and a pickup number, depending on what you're doing. Okay? So that's my usual way of saving these things, so that I can keep them somewhat straight. Pickup number, okay. So remember we talked about pickups. So a pickup is any time you make a short little thing. You may make 4 mistakes that require pickups. Okay, so for example, I may have said, I pushed the wrong button and I pushed the walk-run button instead of, the bike, or I pushed the bike button instead of the run button. So I have to go back and do what's called a visual pickup, where I just change the button. I don't have to really talk anything, I just have to make a visual change. I could have a pickup change that I just said the wrong word. Zoom in, zoom out. Push start, I said push stop instead. You just fix those things, okay? So those are audio pickups, video pickups, and sometimes you'll have audio and video. Good idea about pickups, by the way, is you say what they are so that you remember what they are. So I usually go something along these lines. Hello, editors. This is an audio and video pickup for 0101 at 7 minutes and 34 seconds. So I know exactly where in the video it is, because when I reviewed it in the dailies, I can say, okay, it was at 7:34, I screwed up. Okay. And that would be a pickup. You may have 5, I've had up to 7 pickups. I did one course for LinkedIn Learning on Swift Playgrounds. We got into post-production, and Apple changed the user interface on Playgrounds for iPad. I had to do 37 pickups. So yeah, they can get it obnoxious. I try to avoid pickups. That's why I avoid pickups. Because you got to get it exactly the right place. Every line has to be the right place. All right, post-production. Lots of different video editing software. The cheapest version out there is iMovie. It's got lots of limitations if you're going to try to get to be really fancy. If you're just cutting clips and putting them in, great. If you want to put a few titles on it, it works great. If you want anything more professional than that, like the annotations I'm going to show you in the final video, it doesn't work really well. The other options are far better. Snagit is about the same as iMovie. In many ways, it's less. Snagit is just screen capture. It's screen capture either for stills or video. But that's about all it really does. It has a little bit of editing capabilities, and you can take your videos out as GIFs as well. But that's about all that does. Camtasia is the one that I use the most, and I also use Final Cut Pro, depending on the project. Adobe's too expensive for my taste, so I don't have that much money. All right, but if you look at any of these, you'll find that they're made up of several parts. You've got pickers, which will have all your stuff that you're going to put in there. It's probably going to be your media clips, like it could be a single still, it could be your videos, it could be sound. You can click that and change it to other things such as animated transitions, behaviors, annotations, all that kind of stuff will be found in the picker side. The preview will be what you're going to be viewing as your movie. And here over on properties, that'll be things that you can change for that particular stuff that you have in the picker. On the bottom is your timeline, which is where you're going to put both audio and video and mix them all together to see where they are. Now, of course, everything is in a linear time frame, so you're going to follow that along that linear time frame. Your first thing to do is remove errors. So what you may do is, for example, cut out pieces like this, because that was where I made a mistake. I said blue instead of, you know, run. So I go blue, whoops, pick up, pause, run, and then it fixes it, okay? I can add annotations. So that would be things like adding squares and the like. It could also be some of my special effects. Like I may zoom in. Since that upper corner is difficult to read, I may zoom in on it so that I can concentrate the user, the viewer, on that particular part. Like that. I may zoom where necessary, I just said that. And depending on your microphone, you may run into another issue. I have it on my major microphone, my big headset that's expensive, is just like the way they got this set up here. It's just only running off of one channel. So you only hear it in one ear. So for those cases, you're going to have to put that mix to mono button so you hear it in both ears. And it feels like a full sound. Would be some of the audio stuff. Okay. So you've gotten all that done. You go through all that editing, and you end up with something like this.
When you can't run outside, make running fun inside. MyFitnessTrails is your answer to keeping treadmills from being boring. Start the app by selecting the icon on your device. You'll be at the start screen. On the left is a trail selection list. Above it is the Add Trail button. To the right is the workout selection. To select a trail, just tap it on the trail list. Then tap your workout and hit Start Your Ride. You'll be taken to the workout view. Tap Start, and your workout begins. To stop the workout, press Stop, and then Done. Go hit the trails and enjoy your workout.
Huge difference. Okay. You've got this wonderful video now. Okay. You've done all those things. I put the annotations in, I put the zooms in to get all of that kind of stuff done. Your last step is going to be publishing. Where are you going to do it? First of all, as you're exporting this file out, find out what your publishing requirements are. And that might depend on whoever you're doing it to, be it YouTube or iTunes Connect or whatever, okay? Or App Store Connect or whatever. In application might be one place you're going to do it. So you've got to start thinking about memory issues or what device you're going to be putting this on to figure out what resolutions you're going to need to make as part of your app. Okay. App previews, you can put it in there. Read their whole guidelines. It's so long I could do a whole course on it, and I didn't really want to do that because it's relatively boring. But the big three are you got to make one at native size for everything you're doing. So an iPad and an iPhone, most likely. And no sound, or no talking. You can put sound. So you can put background music, but there's no talking. If you're going to put anything like that, you're probably going to have to put it as a caption. Okay. And many of the really good ones don't even put that. Other things you'll see is websites. You can put it on a website. You could put it on YouTube, along with the rest of the Imperial YouTubers. But yours will be better now. All right, and with all that, I am done. If there's any questions? No? Oh, there's one.
So for the app previews, have you looked at anything to like automate the creation of that using Fastlane and UI tester? Do you think that's viable?
I haven't even played with it. I couldn't tell you. No, I have not played with doing the app previews. I haven't actually, my last app that I've actually gotten published, I've been obsessing with this one so much. The last one I apped, they didn't even have app previews. So I haven't actually played with it. I can't tell you anything about it. Okay, anything else? All right, thank you.